Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to 22 Panels. This is the Milestone Book Club. I'm joined by the brothers Anderson, no relation,
Hmm.
and we're wrapping up the second Milestone Compendium today. So we read two.
Two issues of hardware,
It
and
was
then
hardware. That
yes,
that was what I was. Two issues of hardware, and then was it five issues of
I want to say six of
maybe
Bloods.
six of
Blah, blah,
Yeah, it
blah.
of
was a good chunk of blood.
It was a
Yeah, it
good,
was a
Blood
good chunk of
Syndicate?
Blood Syndicate.
and that's the thing
Yeah,
is, it was
That's
just
the
enough.
technical term for the arc. Like
Is it chunk?
yeah.
a good
One,
chunk.
two,
A
three,
good chunk, yeah.
four, five.
Six,
Yeah,
yeah,
six
six issues.
issues of Blood Syndicate. Two
Yeah,
two issues of hardware, six issues of Blood Syndicate.
it was a weird collection to be sure, because like they
Yeah.
have nothing to do with each other, but like
Nope.
just the two issues of hardware would have been too short,
Yeah.
and yeah, so no, it was an interesting read, especially to kind of see the differing approaches of, what I mean, what each section was doing, because the hardware one was, I don't want to say fill in like a derogatory way, but it was sort of just like a couple
Yeah, but it was an
issues that.
interesting
Well,
one. I
and
mean,
it
Oh, it
was
it was
was, yeah,
definitely
that's.
yeah. It,
Yeah, not in a derogatory way, but it wasn't a
yeah.
thing that was like, oh, this is the essential, moving forward of hardware's character or anything. Um,
Right.
I
For that
mean,
matter, it wasn't even Dakota.
that's right.
He
It
was
was
visiting New York.
it was New York. I couldn't remember. That's
Yeah.
right, because yeah, he was going to get into the Parkway to Queens. Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a fun little issue. And also, this is something I didn't notice. I don't know if we mentioned this last time. This is a two-parter written by Maddie Blaustein, who at the time was referred to by her dead name. She hadn't come out yet. And actually, this isn't
It
her
was
first.
actually in a later letters column that she came out.
That's awesome. That I didn't even know. But yeah, her actual first writing credit was a few issues earlier. It was one of the Icon issues during that story arc, but only like one out of that whole section. It was like I think it was the one that was mostly like Raquel journaling or something. It didn't stand out as like a separate story arc or anything. So it was kind of that. It was this whole separate thing. That was her first. Actually, now that I say that, what's the actual publication date? Because that was, let's see, issue eight.
I want to say it's 94 because the symposium in the story is like the science something 1994. You know
Right.
what I mean? Or
Oh,
I
Yeah.
guess it could. Yeah.
I'm
August of
just wondering.
'94 is the Arcana Part One.
Hey, then that actually, so that's her first, or okay, they're both listed as October 1994, but like whichever. Anyway, so this is her
So
first, this and the Icon issue, which I guess came out the same month, or at least they're listed as the
right.
same month. That's her first writing credits on for anything Milestone related. And I mean, it's interesting because she ends up doing some really cool stuff later on, in particular the hardware miniseries that we'll talk about eventually.
Well, actually, let me just because I brought it up. So it was Maddie came out in the letter page of her Milestone Media miniseries Death Wish,
Yes.
where she stated, "Good writers write what they know. While I am by no means a police officer, it can certainly be argued that Dwayne McDuffie is not a superhero, so far as I know. Dwayne is, however, an African American male living in the latter part of the 20th century, and that is an experience that must color his writing. Characters like Icon and Hardware are reflective of his experience. Marissa Rom is reflective of mine."
Cool.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. No, definitely. And I mean, I think it was interesting in this particular arc. It was, we started kind of referring to the fact that it is a departure, and it was kind of a fun departure in a way. Um, there's a couple moments I thought I really liked it overall. There's a couple moments just where I was like, maybe somebody black didn't write that part, but it was but not. I've read much worse in from the big two. But no, it was cool, and like seeing hardware out of his element. There was some interesting like character stuff because it was in a lot of ways there's a lot of team up with hardware and Freaky Deek.
Yeah, who
You
hasn't kind
know,
of been seen in a while. I was trying to remember what.
yeah. We
'Cause-
did see him I think last time very briefly, and he was having a conversation. I forget who with, but it was essentially about like what to do about um I don't know if it was what to do about Curtis or what to do about hardware, but and in regards to the alliance with Alva, You know, you guys remember this? Like it wasn't a big part of the arc we were reading at all, but it was
Right.
like a page in there. And I think what came of it is he's like, look, I don't, you know, we're not gonna necessarily like go after him just yet, but we'll keep an eye on him because I don't like this Alba situation. Something to
Right.
that effect. But in
Yeah.
this arc, they seem to be good. And we actually learned that I think I had thought that Deacon knew Curtis's identity, but apparently he's Curtis is keeping that from him. So he essentially has a relationship with both Curtis and Hardware by extension. But
Yeah, I'm kind of trying to. It's hard to keep track with Deacon because he's only shown up a couple times as I remember, and he's always
right.
been kind of just like the. It's weird to have like the tech guy for a guy who was
Yeah,
literally the tech guy,
the tech
but
guy,
he's.
yeah.
I mean, he's the black market tech guy, not black market. He's like the underground. He's the black hat hacker guy. You know, he makes a joke in this one about like, oh yeah, I could call up Bill Clinton's credit card or whatever.
Yep.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't remember much about him, and to be fair, he hasn't sort of been in the book in a while, so I don't know. Or if he has, I was kind of forgetting. I mean, like you mentioned, he showed up as like, oh, it's secretive conversation, but I don't know what. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it seems like something that maybe they're going to loop back to later. But
sure. Oh, for sure.
yeah, like this one, they have a new villain, Arcana, who it's interesting because she ultimately, like, at the end of the arc, doesn't do anything disastrous, and she kind of like lets everybody go.
She
Um,
basically gets what she well, she doesn't get what she wanted because
does
he
what she
apparently
wants. Yeah.
wanted to kidnap that rich guy, but
Yeah.
he gets saved. She just kind of fades out of the book, and then I looked this up. Literally never returns. Never
Right.
see, never seen again. At least not in the original Milestone run. So who knows what she wanted and what her deal was? But like, I mean, I get it. Like, you want to have a cool, and I mean, it's a that is a classic thing to do when you have your tech-based hero, is you introduce like the magic villain that he's totally
Right.
flummoxed by.
And
Like that
that's
makes a lot of sense.
and
Yeah.
that is the relevant thing, is that she's magic based. So it's like we've seen hardware go against a lot of like, tech villains and stuff, but this is like a different element. He's also,
Yes.
geographically out of his element, so to speak.
Right.
um so it's interesting, and like, there's like little fun stuff, like him having to ride the subway, and uh like this is definitely an arc where I think they were playing around and just like trying to have fun.
Yeah, that's, I mean, part of the reason that I said that this felt like sort of a fill-in issue is that it didn't have anything much to do with like the ongoing stuff. Like Deacon appears, but there wasn't much conversation about what had been going on lately. And then also like, I mean, like you said, it's fun. It's weird. She's flying around, zapping people and turning her enemies into like dudes in bunny suits worshiping her, and she has
Right.
this bizarre, you know, what's her name? Ilsa She-Wolf of the SS, like assistant
Mhm.
lighting her cigars, and it's it's
Yeah.
it's. I mean, it's fun. It's wild, but it's also like it has kind of nothing to do with anything.
Yeah, and there's wait, well, oh, also like little stuff like, because like Curtis has always been kind of cutthroat. We've spoken about that a million times,
Oh
about
yeah.
the fact that he breaks the hero archetype, in the fact that he's largely uninterested in being a hero, and he's bounced back and forth with at times uh realizing that he has to be more than just a guy out for vengeance. But it was kind of refreshing when he was faced with a scenario to either stop Arcana or go back and save Deacon. He's like, ah, man, I gotta let her go because I gotta save Deacon. And I'm like, oh, look at Curtis making the moral calls. But yeah, this one was just fun. I don't like, this was 2 issues, and the Blood Syndicate arc that we read this time was much longer. I don't have
Yeah, it's
too
hard.
much to say other than that this was it was fun. It was a little bit of departure. This is definitely getting to the point of Milestone where like writing duties were switching up, and I'm sure it overlapped with people having other gigs and responsibilities. I know stuff
Yeah.
got bumpy for Dwayne McDuffie around the time of well, we didn't get to the static issue that was, caused the big controversy, which in the long run was one of the dominoes in Milestone ending in his first incarnation. But like I think, did we read that? I don't think we got there yet, did we?
I
Not
don't
yet.
know. Yeah, I don't actually know what you're talking about. I don't know this history.
Oh, all right. Well, I
This is
think we
going to be.
spoke about.
I mean, we could get to it. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm
just
looking.
briefly, just briefly. Like it's there's an issue, and I thought it was tastefully handled. You know, Static obviously is no stranger to dealing with real issues. Milestone is no stranger to it. But in this particular issue, it was where Virgil and Daisy decided that they were going to take their, relationship to the next level
Right.
physically. And
Okay.
okay, you know what I'm talking about.
I,
Yes.
I I know of it. I don't remember. I know I read it because I read all of Static at some point,
Right.
but I don't. Yes. Okay.
And the big fight wasn't over the content in the pages, it was over the cover image because the cover image was of the two of them kissing, and you see Virgil clearly reaching for protection. And Dwayne McDuffie was like dug in his heels. He's like, no, this is the cover of a DC. It was like, oh, we want to like, what if we, cut that part out or whatever. And that was like a bridge too far, which was kind of wild because you're teaching people to be safe either way. You know what I mean? Like that's probably, but whatever. Like that became a big contentious thing. That was a little bit after this point. So, but I do know Dwayne McDuffie was doing a lot. So you see writing
Sure.
roles switch up a little bit because like you mentioned, Matty Blaustein is writing this arc, and there's a different artist too, who's kind of looks like he's channeling Dennis Cowan, but isn't Dennis Cowan. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean it. Yeah. Again, like there's a huge oral history of Milestone out there that needs to exist that I want to know about it, but just like it's I would be fascinated to know like kind of month by month what was happening because this is not me shitting on Matty Blaustein. Like it's a fun little story arc, but it's also like I was wondering sort of where are we at in the middle of all these ongoing storylines for various books because then we get to the Blood Syndicate stuff and that really hits all the ongoing stuff in the Blood Syndicate story,
Absolutely, yeah. It
which
really it
like
moves things forward.
it
Like,
does. Like
yeah,
okay, I know I mentioned them before, and again, like I keep mentioning those random 6 issues that I got when I was like 9 years old and I was reading this stuff. And one of the issues in this Blood Syndicate run was the one that I had. And so like I had none of the context for it in the middle of this story arc, following all of these different threads. And it was one of those things where as a kid, I'm like, oh my God, this really intricate plotting. There's all these different characters, blah, blah, blah. And now I read it and I'm like, actually this was really kind of intricately plotted. There's some cool
yeah.
stuff going on.
Which issue was it, by the way?
So it was issue. So I guess this is as good a time as any to switch into Blood Syndicate. It was issue. It was like right in the middle of it. I want to say
Was it the one where
the cover is Masquerade, like with a gun
yes.
pointed at his head.
Oh,
Um,
wait, were you stealing the money or
it is the one where he steals the money. Yes,
okay,
and
yes,
like
yes,
the
yes.
cover of it is he's got
I
the
had that
the
one
this.
too, yeah.
Oh, you did. Oh yeah. Okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I had a lot of issues. I'm not even a
Oh
lot.
yeah. That's
I
right.
had
Yeah,
a
you
good
read it
chunk of
as.
them, but I missed like a lot of the ones in between. And this one I had is one of the
Okay.
later.
Yeah, this was issue 21. Blood
Yeah.
Syndicate from Mother with Love. And so, okay, so this chunk of issues, so the first issue is actually sort of a standalone. It's DMZ doing his DMZ thing, swinging that lamp, and then sees a couple of dudes in a helicopter, I guess working for Alva, tracking some like system android. And then they start just like randomly spraying bullets at it from a helicopter. Those bullets get ricocheted off, and they end up hitting a bunch of people in a playground below. DMZ tries to stop him. They have a big midair fight. There's some cool action stuff. This is early Humberto Ramos. There's some neat paneling in some places. A bunch of people get killed, and it's kind of just a big tragedy. And I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of brushing it off because it just didn't really do much of anything for me. Like it,
Yeah.
you
So I
know,
want
it's
to,
fine.
yeah, I have a few things to say about it. Like obviously like after this issue, they get into like the meat of the real meat of this arc where
Right.
it gets into the character heavy storytelling that we're used to from Blood Syndicate. But I did appreciate this as like a one shot in the sense that like yeah, it was cool to see early Humberto Ramos and like I will say like yeah, he was like being really playful and inventive with like paneling and stuff,
Yeah. And it's not totally wordless, but there's very little dialogue, and DMZ obviously never
yeah,
speaks.
yeah. It almost
Yeah.
reminds me of if you guys know what I'm talking about, the famous G.I. Joe silent issues.
Silent
Like,
interlude.
yeah,
Wasn't
yeah,
that
yeah.
also? Wasn't that also number? It was right around there. It was like 21 or 22, and this is
It
like
might
issue
have
18.
been.
Yeah,
Or
it's
was it
like
the yearbook? I can't remember what it was. Yeah, maybe it was. It's one of those things from my childhood. It's like I remember the
oh
panels and everything. I don't remember the numbers.
oh. I
Um,
mean, Silent Interlude, man. I have read like almost no GI Joe. What I
yeah,
have read is I've read Silent Interlude
yeah,
because you
yeah,
have
yeah.
to. Like it's one of those bits of experimental craft that you gotta at least see how they do it. And it's fantastic. I actually
Right.
tangent. I played the GI Joe deck building card game with a good friend of mine lately, and
Okay.
there's a bunch of expansions for it, and one of them is the Silent Interlude expansion because
Oh, that's
you gotta have.
interesting.
Yeah, it's a fun game.
Cool.
It's not, they're not
Yeah.
sponsoring the show. I just thought I'd bring them up.
Right. Right. Well, the one thing I wanted
They're
to say.
welcome to sponsor the
Yeah, I
show.
mean,
Yeah, yeah,
contact us,
yeah,
guys.
yeah.
Sorry.
Contact
22
Ted. Yeah,
panels podcast at gmail.com. If you'd like
definitely.
to find ways to give us money, we can help you.
That's right, Hasbro. If you like what you're hearing, just throw all the money at 22 panels.
Yeah.
The other thing I was gonna
Or
say,
Marcus or Ted. I mean,
yeah, I know,
I'm
but
willing to
this is
share. I'm
we're in
willing
your
to
house right
share.
now, though. Okay, cool. I appreciate that. No, but the other thing about this particular issue that was fun, that was interesting to me is it was not written by Dwayne McDuffie, but Dwayne McDuffie maybe around this time was doing Damage Control, right? Which kind of dealt with
Yes.
the the toll of superhero battles like for regular people. Like,
Yes. In
and
a much funnier way, but still that the
right, right.
consequences. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And like not that this is like a one-to-one to that, but it is
Oh, yeah.
interesting that because that is functionally what this issue is about. It's about the toll
Yeah.
of you know, all of this super action, and these mercenaries who are basically just doing a job to get some cash, and they're raining down bullets, which has an interesting parallel too, because like in a lot of like a lot of urban communities on New Year's Day, people will at midnight people will fire guns in the air, and then but the problem is bullets come down, and that's essentially what happens in
What?
this arc here. So it's
Yeah.
not. It's like yeah. It's also interesting just to kind of see DMZ do his thing, because DMZ has always been so mysterious.
Yes.
And between this issue and the following one, which begins the larger arc, you kind of like get some interesting character stuff with DMZ. Like this one, you see him like caring about the community that he's in. And
Yeah.
DMZ he's silent. Like he's a big mystery in a lot of ways. We do know he's from Icon's world seemingly. So he's also an alien transplant, but like, what I found interesting about this is like, okay, like this is telling me that he's not just like I'm just hanging out amongst these humans. I'm not just hanging out amongst these black and brown people. I actually like feel some sense of belonging here, and responsibility. So I thought that was cool. And then in the following issue, there's a moment where Dog is having like is really breaking down emotionally, and like
Yes.
is being comforted, and you see DMZ like comforting him, and also flashback. But it's like I feel like just those two things, like this issue and that little beat in the following one, it's like, oh, that's giving me a lot about DMZ without necessarily doing a whole backstory thing.
Yes. And that's the big thing about these issues is like I actually have to kind of go back and check and see how much this is the case, but I feel like Blood Syndicate had kind of been pulled into a couple different like crossovers or bigger stories or whatever for so long that we kind of didn't get a lot of like follow through on the regular just stuff they were going through. Like they had, first we had, the Shadow Pact stuff. I guess, I mean, Kwai kind of had her own thing that didn't quite take it over. She was still part of the ensemble, but like, she had her own thing. We had the Rat War stuff, I guess. Yes, we had the Shadow. So we had the Shadow War. We had like the Rat War stuff. Then of course, we had Worlds Collide. It's it feels like this is them finally getting to go back to. I guess that's not the case. I'm looking through them right
Yeah,
now.
Worlds Collide was the biggest interruption. I mean,
Right.
arguably for everything. You know
Oh
what I
yeah.
mean? But I will say, like, one thing that Ivan Velez was good at was, I mean, Ivan Velez was good at a lot of things, but one thing in particular, in regards to what we're talking about, is even when they would get pulled into a ongoing
crossover
storyline,
thing.
crossover, thank you, they would inevitably, he still would like work in like character stuff. You know what I mean? Like they didn't
Yes.
totally lose that. I mean, it got a little weird when you saw other writers trying to write Blood Syndicate. It didn't,
Yes.
it definitely didn't hit the same. But no, like I know what you mean though. This is like even though like they managed to still get the character stuff in some of the events, um, this is like really nice to kind of see just the
Return to
pure
form.
Blood Syndicate, pure and like I don't know, he's really good at balancing all these characters. Like,
Yes.
you don't really like lose anybody. Um, and they're doing like character stuff with them. It's not just like,
Yeah.
oh, I can shoot, these
Yeah.
lasers and yeah,
Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, I mean, what I remember saying about Worlds Collide stuff is I really like the Blood Syndicate stuff was the felt like the best issues to me just because it. I mean, it was still Ivan Velez and he was continuing all the stuff he'd been building and working on for so long, and anyone else writing Blood Syndicate felt really off and weird, but
yeah.
like the Blood Syndicate stuff felt the most in character, obviously. So him getting but to come back and really continue all the stuff he'd been working with is really, really satisfying, and it's great to get back to this stuff because I love, God, yeah, just seeing all these characters interact and like, having interesting conflicts and like going places that we don't expect and arguing and just, oh God, yeah, it's good. It felt weird to suddenly have them like mourning Tech again when like in comics terms, I was like, oh yeah, Tech, he was in the first volume and never again. But of course,
I thought it was relevant because it's like one thing that they deal with here. I mean, it's like if you think about it, it's like the West Syndicates. It's a dysfunctional family, but it's family, and it's
right.
also like I think we talked about that before. That is the purpose that gangs serve, and and they deal with it directly when Wise Son is having his like crisis of leadership,
Yes.
where they really kind of get into like who the like founding people were, and including Dog, and that's a point of
Yes.
contention, and so like Tech was there, he was like the man, and like he had respect, he had vision, and so in a lot of ways I see that, and they also as much as they're at each other's throats, there is a code and there is a certain sense of loyalty. I mean,
Yes.
I would say Wise Son tests it the most. Um, but
Well,
it is there, and I think that is a big part of why, like, Tech's not gonna be forgotten. Like it's it's
right. It's not that it's unwelcome to have that reminder that text gone. It's just it felt weird because it was like, didn't that happen like 20 years? It feels a long time ago because it was. I mean,
right,
it's thousands of pages ago. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. And when you said something about that Wyson is the one who tested the most, you're right. Until in this section of issues, we get Masquerade pulling the big betrayal on the group, which was a
yeah.
big moment. And like, that's a great transformation. And like, it's been building up to for so long where like Fade and Flashback, I think, discovered that Masquerade was born a woman, and like
Right.
nobody else knows, but everyone like knows that Masquerade is apparently gay or like has.
I think only Fade knows because Masquerade pulled this mutually assured destruction thing with him,
Right. Then
which is
revealing.
essentially like if you out me, I'm going to out you. Yeah,
Yes,
which is
that's
super
right.
messed up. Yeah,
Yeah, it's really toxic. And I do love that, like, yeah, like a family, they've got some toxic elements to their
right.
relationships too.
Yeah,
I love them, talking about the money that they've gotten and they were able to spend some money on renovating the factory, and then yet they also have very little left, and so now they have to figure out, well, what do we do? Like, well, do we go back to robbing crack houses? And like, yeah, I guess so. And that just complicates things and makes things worse because then yeah, Kwai gets shot, and that, produces new complications. They capture. So one thing I think I missed, the guy that they capture at that crack house, and I also
right,
appreciate, by the way, this is one of those great little moments where as soon as the Blood Syndicate shows up at this crack house, the guard's like, oh yeah, okay, let me call up the boss. He comes out and just gives him a sack of money and just like, okay, look,
right,
don't burn us down and you can just take part of the profits. And of course then they burn it down anyway because they got
right.
their, yeah. But the
Because then I mean, they've already discussed this.
yeah, you got to.
If they're taking down the crack house, it's not stealing. It's
Right.
being paid for service.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's great that I love yeah, no, I love how they justify.
I did actually really like the discussion, the
Debate.
the group
Well,
had
the
when they were.
debate and the moral justification that they created for themselves and for that matter, one of the things that and you guys have touched on this, but what I loved about this arc is overall, yeah, they robbed the crack house, and you've got hints towards some experimentation going on with with bang babies, with whatever the system is that's plucking people. But overall, it's light on plot motion to give room for character development and
Yes.
interpersonal development to really breathe, for relationships and stress to show, for, there's that moment where as Kwai is healing herself, like everybody else is healed, and like
That and this also,
it
mad
it,
props.
it completely destroys Brick House.
Yes, the art of this issue, like Crisscross has always been
Yeah,
fantastic.
he's
These
been
issues,
elevating. Yeah,
this is
yeah,
so good. That
yeah,
sequence in
yeah.
particular, I don't know who the colorist was either, but the color on that sequence is fantastic. It's
Right.
just like this whole set of issues has some really great
Yeah.
coloring, penciling, inking too. Like yeah, this section right here, this is some of the best art like I've seen yet in the Milestone stuff. It's really good. There's these great close-ups on Mother
And that's actually
in
saying
that
a
last
lot
issue. Yeah.
because like we haven't been upset with Milestone art.
Oh God, no! We've
Mm.
been starting off with John Paul Leon, like, but there's
Right.
these great like close-ups of Mother in that last
Yeah,
issue in the
yeah. I
book,
know
and like
exactly
this.
what you mean.
God, yeah, there's some really cool inking and shading. Yeah, no, these just like visually alone, these all issues are also great. But yeah, this is Ivan Velez getting to continue the stuff that he's been building the whole way through, and it's really like God. I knew going into this I was gonna like Icon. I already knew I liked Static. I liked Hardware. I had kind of forgot how good Blood Syndicate is too, because it
Yeah.
really has the most. I don't know about the most,
No,
but it
it's my
has.
favorite. Blood Syndicate is my favorite, definitely.
Yeah,
It's like,
it's like there's such good character dynamics and they get balanced so well, and all these characters have interesting nuance and they get cool powers, and it works really well. I love every element of it. It's a really
This
good team
this
book.
this interpersonal dynamic is what people always tell me that they love about X-Men, that I haven't read enough X-Men that actually capture it. I'm certain that it's out there.
it's definitely there.
At,
But
at
like,
least I'm
and
mostly certain that it's out there.
yeah,
Yeah.
But
yeah.
but
I, I
like
was
it
always a
really
Generation X guy, but yeah.
it
I mean, the like
really
Claremont stuff was definitely had that.
Oh yeah, but yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead, Ted.
again, to be able to really get interpersonal relationships, particularly in a group dynamic, requires giving a story more room to breathe than superhero comics normally do.
Right. Well, I
And,
wanted to. Oh, go ahead, sir.
I just meant I really felt like that was done really well. There was just enough action and plot development going on that you were unlikely to have anybody sitting back going, why is this a superhero comic with just people talking?
Yeah.
But not so much that there wasn't a lot of room for people to just talk
Yeah,
and
like it the
and
cool action
think and
with
feel.
yeah, with not Templo, the other guy, Oro. Oh, like Oro chasing another kid and then getting captured by some system agents, and then also the
Mhm.
masquerade fight with the system guy. Yeah, that oof. No, great.
Right.
Very good.
Well, one thing that's really relevant is, and I mean, I will always like try to give Ivan Velez his flowers because like I think he's like really talented. He's versatile as a writer, but like I brought up in a past episode, he had an indie comic in the '90s called Tales of the Closet, and it was very Love and Rockets esque, but it was his own thing, and essentially it was like these kids and these high school kids, and they were all somewhere on the spectrum of queerness, and this is in the '90s, and they were diverse too. Like I think there were some black kids, Latino kids, some white kids, maybe Asian. So, but yeah, like, but he really balanced it in that way that like you get from like a Jaime Hernandez book, like that type of like just cool character, just realistic interplay between characters and people. And I feel like that's what makes him such a good fit here for this team book because he's literally bring that indie comics character based type almost slice of life, even though they have superpowers, like thing to a superhero book. And I think
Yeah.
it's a cool dynamic, and let alone that it's uh just mostly black and brown team, and they're a gang, and you're dealing with some of the realities of some people's urban life, So
Yeah.
these are all the things that make Blood Syndicate one of my favorite books.
Yeah, no, I mean it's and again, like it's the focus comes on and off different characters in cool ways, and even like tiny moments like flashback, going into the thing and finding it harder and harder to interact with people. So like he punches the guy and is like concentrating, and it takes 2 or more seconds for the guy to actually feel the punch.
Right.
Even though just the little bits along the way, but then also Kwai getting that desperate moment where she's only just joined the group, but she's already part of it, and everyone's worried about her. Yeah, oof, yeah, the masquerade stuff where he's betraying the team and realizes how badly he's screwed up like after he's already done it, but they both realize that like yeah, there's no way he can come back. So it's yeah, God, it uh, just going
Yeah.
back to these issues, like it is Icon and Hardware and Static got a lot of the I think got the lion's share of the press both at the time and now. I feel like I don't actually know if that's true, but I mean it seems like they did because they were the ones that also had the most the most sympathetic characters.
No, it was
Yeah.
they were the cleaner team. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's
Yeah.
like, I was about to make a hip hop reference, but but it's like they were the yeah, like they were more palatable,
Yes. I mean
and
they're not members of a gang who go around burning down crack houses and stealing the money, and some of them are also addicted to crack. Like it. Yes. Yeah.
right.
Sorry.
But I mean, it's all complicated, and like that's what I love about Milestone, that they were willing to get complex, and
Yeah.
um like just in this arc, right? Like they're bouncing so much. You see, and Masquerade kind of goes through before he ends up taking the money. Like he's weighing what to do. Like he blows up at not third rail. Is it
Brick.
third rail? Uh,
Brick. I thought it was brick. No, you're right. It is third. I think it is
Third
third
rail.
rail.
Yeah, third rail. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's that I don't think they use his superhero name that often, but yeah, it's third rail.
No.
Like, and they've had their back and forth thing, and third rail, who largely is one of the more sympathetic characters. One of his flaws is he throws him and Masquerade get into it, he ends up throwing like oftentimes homophobic slurs his way. Um, or their
I
way, I guess. And but like in a way that it's like obviously the book's not condoning it. It's just kind of like this is uh a lot of guys deal, especially at this time, dealt with their disagreements in this messed up way, and
hmm
but also Masquerade is being mad toxic too. And
Yeah.
so it's interesting because he's complex, and when he kind of like storms off and is in his own thing and in his own thoughts, it's interesting because even though like Masquerade does mess up and says mess up stuff all the time, you still empathize with them to a certain degree because you really kind of see their um just their turmoil, and
Yeah.
also, and this is 94 too. It's not that we're in evolved times now by any means, but like it's less evolved, especially when it comes to the identity issues that Masquerade is dealing with, and
Yeah.
yeah,
So no, I was about to say we also had at least one sequence where Masquerade and his like visited his grandma, and yeah, I'm also not sure what pronouns to use because well, again, we're working off of this comic that itself wasn't always sure what
yeah,
pronouns to use. But like we saw that scene of like Masquerade visiting his grandma, and like that was this interesting sympathetic moment. Yeah, so it's the book doesn't let anybody off the hook, but it also, it's yeah, you feel everybody's motivations and pains and circumstances, and
right,
it's so well balanced. God, yeah, no,
yeah,
these issues, man. The thing that I was going to mention though that kind of slipped by me, or I feel like I missed something was So they grabbed a guy out of the crack house that they burned, the one who shot
Yeah.
Kwai, which comes back later because then once Kwai heals herself, it's a question of like, well, should we, we basically kept him for you to decide what you want to do with him. Do you want to get revenge or whatever? And of course, she's too, she declines the offer. Um, but that kid is apparently also related to Wise Son. Did I
Yeah,
miss?
I interpret it he's like a cousin because like he was talking
Yeah,
about he's going to tell his mom,
right.
who you understand to be a relative. So they don't say exactly what the relation is, but they don't reveal that immediately. Like Wise
Yeah,
Son,
they
and that's like classic Blood Syndicate because Wise Son is like grab the kid, and we're not 100% sure initially like what his motivations are. But then afterwards, when he has the kid and they're interrogating him, um, that's where he lets it out, and he's like, "Look, I don't
right.
even care. It doesn't matter that your family, if she dies, then that's it for you."
Yeah. I
Um,
guess I was just confused because it like didn't come up before then. There wasn't any moment where it was like, "Hey man, I know you. You're so and so's
yeah,
kid," or
no, you were meant to be surprised. Like at
Yeah.
that moment when you read it, like it wasn't, you didn't miss it. It was like it was meant to be not revealed until that point.
Yeah. This sequence I just remembered also had the bit with uh Boogie's secret being
Yes,
revealed,
his
which
identity, yeah,
yeah, that was
which had been
interesting.
partially revealed
Right. Like I think we
because
knew it and then
flashback
yes.
figured out at a certain point, and it was like a secret
Yes.
between them. And he also has a crush on her too, you know. So
Yes.
which is I'm assuming is going to remain unrequited, but we'll see.
Yeah, that's and this reminded me that's why I got confused. Flashback knew about Boogie, and then
Right.
Fade knew
Fade
about
knew about
Masquerade, and well, they knew
Masquerade.
about each other, but
Yeah.
Flashback. Okay, yeah, that's what I was confused about. Because like I knew Flashback knew somebody's secret, but not her. Anyway,
Yeah.
um, yes, okay, yeah, no, it was a little. It just was like a momentary hitch from like, wait, did they mention that? Did I miss it? What? But it didn't like, it
Yeah.
was interesting again, and it also like there was a reason that they showed us that where it's Wise Son he wasn't planning to kill the kid himself. He obviously had sort of this ulterior motive for keeping the kid around, which was
Right.
basically just to kind of to test Kwai or see what would happen with Kwai, and
Yeah.
also just to not kill family. But it's also yeah, Wise Son has these. Yeah, they're all interestingly complex. I mean, the one thing that I feel like is we were talking about Third Rail a little earlier, and I feel like he's the one who's sort of the least. I get the least feeling of what he is because most of what we've seen of him so far is like he's super into Break House, which okay, cool. He's occasionally like homophobic towards Masquerade, and I don't really know a whole lot else. Did he have any?
He definitely implies about like some family
Yeah.
something with his father. Um
Yes, but I
I forget
totally blank.
exactly what it was. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. I'm blanking on it too. I don't know. I just I want him. He feels the least developed to me, or at least the least. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what's in his head. I
Right.
don't know
Well, a
him as
lot
well as
of
anyone else.
yeah, absolutely. And a lot of what we know about him is in relationship to his relationship with a brick house and vice versa
Yeah.
too, which
Yeah.
is still, I feel like their dynamic is interesting and
Yes, and it is a good like it's a very X-Men dynamic. It's I wish we're in love and I
yeah,
wish you could see how beautiful she is because she's looks like a monster. It's super Marvel,
yeah.
but
But this is
in a good way.
pre Gambit, right? Pre Gambit and Rogue. But yeah, I mean
Uh,
there's been other versions. Well, Gambit didn't come along until
that was
oh
like
it did. No,
90.
no,
No,
no. No,
he was around in that too.
Gambit was in play. Yeah.
Yeah, this was like 93
Okay.
and the Jim Lee stuff was 91. So yeah, he was,
Right. Okay. All right.
yeah.
You're right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
And the animated series was out at this point too.
yes, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Okay.
real, I mean, that's how I knew him.
I was trying to get
Gambit.
my timing, figure my timing out.
Um, but yeah, I mean, this Shadow Cabinet, this the Blood Syndicate, the Shadow Cabinet, by the way, the Shadow Cabinet stuff that popped up was fun because there were literally like two mentions, and
Mm.
one of them was Masquerade using his like the thing. I forget how he got that. Did he like take it from
The
somebody?
disc. It
Yeah.
was back. You know what? It was back. It was back during the Shadow War or whatever. The war with the Shadow
Right.
Cabinet and the other team, and
Yeah.
it was when they were coming around trying to recruit, and they had
Yes.
given one to Masquerade. So it's funny because Masquerade is doing that thing where he's like, "Okay, I'm cashing in this thing now. And they're
Yeah.
like, oh, come on, dog. That was 2 years ago.
Yeah, he's like, yeah, no, we're not doing that anymore. And then it's like that one page, and then they fade out. And then similarly, there was another sequence where Oro tries something kind of similar. He
Yeah.
just kind of shows up, and they're like, yeah, we're done here too. Or no, it's
No, they brought him there, but it
to
was to
fire
give
him.
him his
Yeah,
walking papers. Yeah, exactly. But they gave him severance, which that's
yeah,
interesting to know to find out that there is financial compensation for the Shadow Cabinet.
yeah. I mean, I wonder if you get dropped from the Justice League. Do you get to keep the pension, or
They never explained that. I feel like I don't think there's. Wait, has there ever been clarified? I don't think the Justice League gets paid.
I mean, depends on different version of the Justice League. I
Right?
was just
Who's writing? Yeah, probably. Who's
Yeah,
writing.
exactly. I was just remembering there's like in part of Morrison's JLA at one point, Huntress gets fired from the JLA by Batman. And then
Mhm.
I don't know, I think all she does is like she tries her codes later on and it doesn't work because of course she got fired, but then she tries a different code
Right.
that she picked up anyway. But yeah,
Yeah.
uh talk about other superhero teams.
And I do know
Uh,
that the Avengers had they're all wrapped up with the government.
they had the little cards and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and there was a thing at one point. I don't know if they kept that, but there was a thing at one point where I think there's a certain it was either 5 or 6 members that they was the number that they had to maintain at any given time.
Oh, to like maintain legal status. That's
Yeah,
cool.
I
I love
remember. I
that.
remember that when Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel, became the leader of the team because there was a whole we'll get into that government stuff about their how the team. Anyway, I digress.
No, I always love thinking about like how does this stuff actually work with sort of,
Right.
do they get paid? How do we handle this stuff? This is the same thing that gives us, damage control for various reasons.
Yeah.
What was the superhero book I was just reading that had something similar where they were talking about like real world pay aspects or something? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I read something recently.
Yeah,
I think
I'm
what
trying
it
to remember.
is.
There was a Kickstarter book a few years ago, or no, it's currently coming out. Anyway, then getting off topic, but yeah, this Blood Syndicate stuff continues to be excellent. I know I read it all at one point, but I don't have any memory of what happens after this point. I mean, the one negative thing I could say about this, and it's not
And
even
I was
really.
actually, I was floating through the table of contents for the next compendium. It's going to
Mm.
be a long time before we see
Oh
what
man,
happens next.
Oh
oh
man,
man. That sucks. It's the one thing that I will say that is almost a negative, but not really. But is I don't. There's not as much because it's like you said. This is not very plot heavy. There's so many things being juggled. I don't know what's going to happen. Like I don't immediately know what the next big thing is going to be. Like we've got Templo has been revived apparently, and stuff's happening
yeah.
there. Masquerade's obviously still on the run, but has been captured by Mother. We got stuff with
I feel like the
I think
next
those are the
big
best of the
thing
big
is
ones.
whatever's going on with Mother and System.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I guess it does all boil down to Mother and System because that's also involving Masquerade and Templo and everything else.
Right.
But whatever it's building to, yeah, I'm excited to see it. But God, it sounds like we're not going to get there for a while. Cripes.
It's going to be a little while.
Man, why we
Yeah.
always
It's
got to
going to be
wait
a
on
little
this?
while.
Wait. Can somebody clarify? Because ironically, this ties into this is just a this week in Marcus, but like I I did some serious organizing of my back issues. I'm not even done yet, but like of my floppy comics, and I'm really contemplating just getting like the DC and Marvel apps because they release too much stuff. You know what I mean?
Right.
Does the DC app have Milestone books in it, like the original
Yes.
Milestone books?
Yes.
Oh,
I've been
okay.
reading most of the stuff on the DC app.
And how much is that a month?
They're,
What is that? Is that like
I think it's
5?
like, I think, I think it's as low as 8.
Oh, okay.
But
there's
if you
tiers?
if you do it annual for like 100, you get a lot more Vertigo, and you get
Oh.
new books, I think, a week after they come out, that sort of thing.
Wait, if you do the cheaper one, there's Vertigo stuff that you just can't access?
There's not
All
as
right.
much Vertigo stuff that you can access if you're going the cheaper route.
Oh, boo. All right, so we can talk about this off air. I just,
Yeah.
but I
Well, I
would
mean,
love.
it's not a bad thing to talk about on air either. People who
Do
want to read along,
do they
they got
have
to
do they have
figure
the?
out how.
This is my main question for asking. Do they have the milestone stuff that's kind of in between, like the Wise Son miniseries and the Death Wish and all that
Mm.
stuff?
I literally have it up right now, so let's find out.
All right. Well, we
Uh,
could keep Ted. You keep talking. I
keep
don't want to take
talking
up too much time
while
with the
I
DC
But I
search.
am,
because
yeah, I
this
am
is not
curious.
sponsored by the DC
It could be.
No,
I mean,
but
do you
they're
want to give us
also
money?
welcome to
Right.
Yeah, fine.
sponsor me or at least send me more free comics.
Right. Absolutely.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
talk about the miniseries because I remember also again I read a bunch of the miniseries. I remember
mhm.
like there's the Wise Son one by Hoche Anderson. There's the Death Wish one
It
by
act
Matty Blaustein.
Yeah, it
There's
actually looks like they don't have Death Wish.
Oh,
mm,
okay.
mm,
So it might
disappointing.
be that they have the long ones, but not the mini series
Okay.
stuff.
That does
Hope that stuff
suck
doesn't
because
get
that
lost.
I mean
Yeah,
yeah.
Cobalt's not there.
Cobalt. Now that's another one that one I remember liking a lot
Oh
when I
yeah, I
read it.
think I
I mean
did
that was
read
years
that.
ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was a
Well, that's
really
another one. Zombie is there though,
okay.
Okay.
Well, Zombie was sort of I mean Zombie was considered an ongoing. I don't know
Right.
if I don't remember if
though only the first 6 issues, or first 5 or 6 issues of Zombie.
really
Hmm.
that's weird. Um yeah, I was about
Yeah,
to say
first 6 issues.
I don't remember if
I mean,
Cobalt
stuff gets added, so I mean, who knows if it'll stay that way forever?
uh, and Cobalt wasn't it was longer than a miniseries. That was like 18 issues or something, wasn't it? That went a while. I thought.
Um, I mean,
Yeah, I'm
since I
not
happen to
sure.
have that up right now too,
Yeah. Yeah.
let me find out for you. Um, where is
Mhm. Yeah, I mean the
16
miniseries stuff
issues?
16. Okay, so not as long as I
16
thought.
issues of Cobalt.
It's longer than your standard miniseries though was the interesting thing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, excuse me. I don't know to what degree those are sort of plot important to the milestone stuff in giant air quotes because like plot is not the I mean, plot is important obviously, but plot is also just like there's so much more that makes this milestone stuff great. I don't know to what degree that like those are plot important, but definitely as part of the milestone vibe, they're fantastic. Didn't Patty Blaustein, did she also do there was like a hardware like separate mini series or something? There was some other, or it was just a very
I'm
weird
not
mini
sure. I mean,
like
there could have been. If there
arc.
was, I didn't read it yet.
I think there was just a really sort of I say this as a positive, but like a very weird arc of hardware that comes later that was very like the Arcana stuff is sort of a warm up for that from what I remember of it. If I'm thinking about the right thing, I might be confused. Don't take me at my word.
Well,
But
it looks like Maddie Blaustein did Icon, Hardware 20 and 21,
right.
Death Wish, also Hardware 23, 24,
Yeah, there's a bunch of
26,
hardware that
27,
okay, yes, that might be
28,
what I'm thinking of because there's a
33,
yeah. Okay,
and a lot of
there's a
that
hardware.
is like interspersed with the Death Wish stuff coming out.
Okay. That's yes, that's what I'm thinking of then because the hardware stuff had some really interesting wild stuff in it for a while that I will say it does feel like it kind of took from what I remember, this was years ago, from what I remember, it did feel like it went further afield from what had been the main hardware focus of, him in the back
And
and
then
forth with
some
Alva.
static.
Oh yeah, that's right. She did some static too. But anyway, that's not a criticism. It is different. But I remember
Yeah.
liking it a hell of a lot. There's some really wild stuff in those issues. If I'm thinking of the right stuff, I might be
Yeah.
I might be spouting nonsense. Don't trust me. Anyway, um, but yeah, this is a fun chunk of issues. I am
Yeah.
looking forward to whatever we hit next. And it sounds like, I mean, this is the end of Compendium 3. And before we went
And
on
a
the
Compendium
podcast,
2.
oh
And a Compendium 2.
So
wait,
yeah.
this was Compendium
Yeah.
2?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've
It took
only
us a while.
gotten
It
through
took us
two
a while
Oh
to
my
get
compendiums
there.
so
God.
far. I
Whoa.
I mean,
know.
only that's like
I mean, they're
that's
fun
like
ones.
2,500 pages of
Yeah,
comics.
that
Right.
wasn't a complaint. That was like, oh my God, there's so much
Yeah.
in it,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
no, but yeah, that's blah, blah, blah. What we talked about this. What are we doing next?
we're gonna do some Shadows of Dakota static
Yes.
recent
The
stuff.
the
Yeah.
new the new milestone
Right.
revival.
New
Yes.
milestone. Of
Um,
which in the new milestone, I don't know. Marcus Did
I've read it.
you,
Yeah,
did you? No, I meant did you read? Did either of you read the first Shadow Cabinet
I have it.
that
I
Joe
have it right
Illich
on
wrote?
top of my pile. I haven't
It
read it
was
yet.
I have
good.
not. I need
Oh,
to.
I
Who's
100% believe that. Yeah,
and
yeah.
Yeah.
who's doing the new Shadow Cabinet?
Joe
Joe
Illich is
Illich.
writing it.
Okay,
Yeah, and I
cool.
forget who's
Yes.
the artist. The artist
Let
is
me go find out.
Yeah, it's. I mean, all the new all the new hardware
Milestone.
milestone. There's two syllables, and I'll get there
Yeah,
eventually.
it's all good.
All
We
the
know
new.
what you meant. We know
Thank
what you
you.
meant.
All the new milestone stuff has been good, and I've been looking forward to it. It's just been.
Yeah.
It's so much on my
Well,
list.
I know. It's like
Daryl Banks and Adagon Ilhan
okay. All right,
Mm-hmm.
cool.
are
Definitely the
sharing
art that
the.
I've seen so far I like.
Yeah.
I will say, and I'm not trying to get any gigs from them, so I'm not too worried about it. But I don't 100% always trust DC and Warner Brothers to do the right thing by Milestone. Like,
Yeah.
so
So far, they
I'm
have been.
glad to see. I know, but sometimes when you talk to
No,
creators,
I meant so
I'm
far
not putting
with
anybody's business in the
this.
street, but sometimes you talk to creators and
Well,
it's,
yeah, okay.
but
So
but
far,
without
their publication stuff from has been solid, is what I meant.
yeah,
I
you
have
know what
heard mixed reviews on how well the experience has gone for a lot of people.
well, and what I'm speaking about specifically, if I'm keeping it real, again, I'm not speaking about anybody's specific experience, but what I am speaking about my trust with them is really kind of lines up with the very the very inspiration that Wayne McDuffie had to both like create hardware and his backstory of hitting that glass ceiling and the frustrations with a larger, largely white corporate environment and the
Right.
ways that it just doesn't see you um and kind of operates off the myth of equality and ignores equity, and
Right.
so there's that because I do think that as much as because I'm just like I don't know, like they're doing like season one, season two, and there's long breaks in between. And I do understand functionally where when you do seasons, it does allow creators breathing room so you can keep the same team and they can have time to create, come back, et cetera, et cetera. It just feels like there's resources that they will pour into the 19th Batman book, in any given month that like don't
Well, they're trying to get
necessarily
to that magic 20.
right, right. And look, I've read some good Batman books in the past
I know.
year. Like,
I know.
and I've been like, there are entirely too many. Like,
Yeah.
but I'm like, but damn it, some of them are good, But
A lot of them are good. I mean, it's the real catch 22 that like on one side you know that there's so many of them just because
he's the biggest character.
well, biggest sales character,
Right,
and that tons of those stories, if the writers were paid to do it, they could do the same story and possibly better with characters that weren't Batman. But at
right.
the same time, they have enough affinity for Batman and they're good enough at what they do that they're really fucking good Batman
Yeah. No,
stories.
look, Batman, the reason I will always come see, I'm doing it now. I was trying to talk about Milestone, but now I'm talking about Batman. Well, briefly, what I will say is
All
I
roads
just feel
lead
like
back to Batman.
Batman and the mythology of Gotham City, it's just a great template for people to play with at the end of the day. Like,
Mhm.
I just we watched Penguin recently, which I loved,
Mm.
and then I went back and watched the Batman, which, I loved also. And it's just really fascinating how many different ways can play with these things. That said, I want the same thing for Dakota. I want 100 because Batman is damn near 100 years old. I mean, it will be in the 2030s and late 2030s. And
Yeah.
I want people 100 years from now to be like, I want to tell my Dakota story. You know what I mean? And
Hell
I
yeah.
don't necessarily know that DC Warner Brothers knows what it has. And is willing to invest in it. Because at the end of the day, in all seriousness, like and this is a larger problem with comics, even aside from, comics that are specifically, black or about people of color, but like there is a tendency to like really chase the thing that's made you money, which I'm just describing capitalism at this point. But there's a way in which like, you've seen some critically acclaimed books that the people who actually read it adore and love. And those books just like go away because they didn't hit this magic, 10,000 a month sales or whatever. And there in this digital age, there's a lot of ways that you could. I'm sure I've done this speech on the show before, so I won't do the whole thing.
Actually,
But
It's always welcome.
I'm going to give a couple of plugs right now because
mm,
I haven't listened to the interview yet. But Heidi McDonald was just on Off Panel, and she followed up her interview with a long column at the Beat, um, about all of the publishing world except comics is a long game. It's not about
right, that little
make it right
quick,
now. It's about
yes,
Right.
having a solid catalog. It's about what might be popular this year, might not be next year, but could be 20 years from now.
right,
Um, it's not about like make this to sell it to be a movie now. It's about make
yeah,
this, keep it in print, see if it catches fire
right,
later. You've got your perennial stable of stuff that's just solid, in the publishing world. You're never going to not sell Sherlock Holmes. I mean, even
right,
though it's public domain, you're never going to not be able to sell Sherlock Holmes. You're never going to not be able to sell A Christmas Carol or Catcher in the Rye. Um, and comics is Batman. Batman is going to be DC's anchor book, but that doesn't mean that they couldn't take longer chances on a lot of things
right.
if they
Which,
wanted to and have a really good chance of making their money back, even just through publishing,
right,
if you look at it over a decade
right.
rather
Yeah.
than a month.
No,
And that's
absolutely. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Ted.
no, I didn't ever. You've been waiting on it, man. Sorry.
No, it's okay. Oh,
But
all
it's,
right. Well, yeah. You said no. You go, and then I'll say
I,
something. I
just
got
that
one too.
I mean, that's a consequence of like the direct market system, really. Like that's
Right.
that element of the returns and the way that returns are done and how they have to do
It
pre-orders
just
and
has to
everything.
be reimagined, though.
Yes,
Right.
yes, 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the thing where it's like every publishing model has its own flaws and downsides and everything. I mean, a friend of mine recently mentioned. I'm sure. I'm almost positive we talked about this on the podcast before, but the manga series Bakuman, which is about two shonen manga guys creating shonen manga,
Hmm.
written by the two guys who did Death Note. So, like, if anyone knows shonen
Hmm.
manga, those do. Um,
Right.
but and it's so much of it is about how exactly those magazines work, how much work it is to get in there, like what you have to do to
Yeah.
game the system and keep yourself afloat, and like for all that the manga industry has over American comics, which it does, there are also some places in which it's way worse, or at least bad in different ways. Like there's a
Hmm.
reason that, Toriyama, the single greatest dude of all time, possibly in manga, well, him or Tezuka, but like died at such a young age, partly
Hmm.
because he worked himself to death pretty much. Like
It's which is tragic. Yeah. Yeah.
it's awful. And I mean, again,
Yeah.
it's not that that's something unique to manga because
Right.
again, there are so many comics creators who they didn't have any savings. There's guys in, retirement homes with nothing.
Yeah.
There's
Right.
issues everywhere. I mean, it's all really it's all capitalism, but it's
Yeah.
but the thing of it is that comics has that it has that like it has the pressure of, oh, we got to have a thing to tie into to this movie. We got to have a thing out now that responds to this. We got to have this. We got to have that. And there's no long tail because up until recently, like they just didn't keep books in print and they didn't print for
Right.
long-term markets like
Right.
that. And that
Right.
is gradually changing, but very gradually. And until then, the
Yeah.
actual publishing market is just going to keep eating their lunch. So like that's a whole other issue. That's several other
Yeah.
podcasts, but like
Yeah. Well, and it's why like I'm very happy with this lane of graphic novels that I've been fortunate enough to kind of,
You're in a very
been
good
getting
lane.
work in.
Well, and
But like
I
I
mean,
don't have any desire to do the monthly hustle. Like,
oh God.
it's
There,
ugh.
someone on Blue Sky just posted something about like, the fact that yeah, all these indie creators who do these incredible books then decide to go over to, whatever random superhero is hot right now, and not condemning them exactly, but because like everybody's got to eat, but also
Right.
you can do such good stuff. And this reminded me that years ago on I guess Twitter, I saw a thread that always stuck with me, and I wish to God I'd saved it or at least remember who wrote it. But someone was talking, they just sort of did this alternate history thing where they were talking about this other world in which every musician what thought of all their bands they've ever been in, all the songs they've ever written, all the people they've ever played with as just their extensive audition to start playing in either a Beatles or a Rolling Stone cover band. And that's the comics industry for you is and
Yeah.
if we're being really honest, it's not even like the Beatles and the Rolling Stones. It's like, Hawkwind and Nickelback. Like okay, that's harsh, but
No, I feel you.
but it is a thing where it's like though no other industry works like this where well they have their own pressures obviously. God knows the music industry isn't that good, but like
Yeah.
but comics has that unique pull where like the only way to make a success for a lot of people is to not do the thing you love but to do the thing that, oh God, that when I put it in those terms it's like, oh God, that is just capitalism, isn't it?
It's yeah, no, it's tough. Well, and where I was going with this too is just all right, so I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but in 2020, after the murder of George Floyd, right, and there were mass protests, uprisings, which felt different than the myriad of killings of unarmed black men that I've seen throughout my lifetime, where it felt like we black people were protesting, if anything, but not everybody else. And this time it was like pandemic, the world
It was
didn't
big.
have as much to do, et cetera, et cetera. So more people were paying attention and they realized like, hey, maybe Black lives do matter this year.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
this year though is and
Yeah,
so
that's
there was a lot of promises about like, oh man, we got this sick our graphic design team threw up this sick banner, that we're gonna put up on our website and all that and everything. And there was a lot of organizations. I've seen this on multiple levels because obviously I work in comics, but I also just am very involved in the art world on different capacities, right? And so even just locally, there's different arts museums and organizations that made these big grand pledges to like respect Black and BIPOC voices and all of that. And that was 2020 and 2021. And then come 2022, all of that was drying up. I personally know people who got new positions that were created specifically like to meet the needs of these neglected populations, marginalized populations, and all of a sudden it's like their position, it doesn't exist this year or it's getting cut. And so there's a lot of broken promises with that. And what it comes down to, the reason I bring that up is a lot of times corporate America is like, and again, this is still capitalism, but it's like they talk a big game, but it is also related to race. Like, they talk a big game when it comes to marginalized groups of people and, making these promises and seeing the importance and the value, especially if it's the month of a given group. But then it dries up and there's not a real investment in it. And then what I'm talking about is that idea of equity versus equality, because it's like if you're saying the lie of equality is what has allowed these divides to exist for so long, because it's kind of like, well, no, it's equal. Martin March, Rosa set, and we got a Voting Rights Act, so you guys are all good. Shut up. That was literally like the narrative, that I grew up with growing up after the Civil Rights Movement. Not too long after the Civil Rights Movement, but after the Civil Rights Movement. And equity it recognizes what the hell is broken in the country and the system, and what actually you know needs to be addressed in order to move things forward. So it's like the comics industry acting like, how many racists do you see saying like, just crying about like, oh, why is this black person getting to write this, or why is this woman, period, whatever her ethnicity is, getting to write this book or draw this
yeah.
book, etc., and
God.
questioning their right to be there, not on the merits of their work, but just on their identity. You know what I mean? And like, so my point is like, I'm gonna stop a sermon in a minute, but my point is, I will trust DC and Warner Brothers with Milestone when I really see them recognizing like, no, this is important and we need to have its back, and also to like to promote it and make sure that we are pushing it, because at the end of the day, it's like, yeah, everything, all these observations we all made about the publishing industry are so true and so accurate. But at the end of the day, there is an audience for this. Like
Oh yeah.
Static is the kind of, kids come up to me at cons and everything, and they're looking through my prints and they're like, you have a Static, like, and like, because they're like, we grew up on Static, and Static made it through to the mainstream. And some people know Icon and Rocket from like Young Justice, but
Oh yeah.
it's like these characters should also be household names, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that's what I'm talking about when I say I don't always trust
Yeah.
DC's
Un-
investment.
oh,
Well, I
understandably.
mean,
I also just wanted to chime in. I have the first volume of like Static Season 1 in my middle school library where I work. I
Oh,
see
cool.
kids checking that out regularly because, like, yeah,
yeah.
it's superhero stuff. It's fun. It's colorful. It's got a black kid on the cover. I work in a
Yeah.
majority black school. That matters.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I mean, I'm in a I'm helping a student in an English class right now where they're reading Dear Martin,
Mhm.
and they a number of the books that they've read this I think that they read the Fresh Ink anthology before that, which is a lot of diverse voices, short stories. Gene Yuen
I know
Lang,
you mean Yang, like, yeah,
Lewin
Lewin
Yang,
Yang, Yang.
not
We're so
Yuen
sorry, Gene.
Lang,
We're
We
so
got this
Lewin
together. We
Yang.
yeah.
yes, yes. Much respect.
Um, and there was a kid that's like, so second semester, are we gonna? We still all everything we're reading about race, and I actually thought overall the teacher handled it relatively well, particularly for this environment where he's like, well, I mean, that's really up to you, isn't it? None of
Mm,
these books have to be about race.
Mm,
The stuff going on is stuff that you can relate to on other levels. You don't have to focus on the racial
exactly.
component if you choose not to. Um, but what went through my head, and it's just it just wasn't in a position where it was appropriate for me to say it, was if all of these are about race, tell me what book wouldn't be about race.
Yeah, you shouldn't be. No, actually, no, yes. You could, yeah, like all these other books. I
So
mean,
you're telling me that Catcher in the Rye isn't about race?
yeah.
Try reading it as a poor black kid.
yeah. That's
Well,
it.
I bet you it's a lot about race then.
Every book is in conversation with its
What does
audience, and
this
every
what
work.
does this
Yeah.
crazy rich white boy get away with? I
No,
couldn't do
yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And it is, and as much as like the myth of the default, right, which is
Right.
what you're speaking about, that, well, if I don't write that the character is black in my novel, or if I don't draw a black character, it's obviously a bunch of white characters. Like the thing about that is that it is a choice, as because the default thing is a lie, right? Where people are like, oh, no, I'm just writing, what I know. I'm writing people like I grew up
Right.
with. Well, you are making a choice to make a book with wall-to-wall white characters, or where your only non-white characters are somehow trivialized or less important. So no, that absolutely, because the history of the publishing industry has been a lot of choices. And well, it's the idea of like when people complain that politics that address race, gender, sexuality, etc., are identity politics, but then you'll look at the other side of the aisle, and
Right.
somehow that's not identity politics.
No,
We're not
no.
we're not even going to get into,
Your Christian agenda isn't
yeah,
about your identity.
it's 100. Yeah, it's. I mean,
No,
I
that's
don't
not
know what's more.
identity. That's just truth.
Absolutely, yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah. God, oof, that's a whole other set of
Okay,
issues.
I'm not proud of myself anymore. I held in the other snarky comments.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. At this point, though, it is also getting late. I do gotta.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
is. It is. It is.
Whenever we start getting into
Time to
politics,
wrap it
it's
up.
Right, right.
Time to wrap it up. Um, Another great episode, and for the brothers Anderson, no relation. This has been the 22 panels Milestone Book Club, where we wrapped up Milestone Compendium 2.
Woo!
Yes.
Like 2 years into our Milestone book club, I think. Somebody looked it up recently. Um, yeah, we've been doing this for a while. It's kind of cool.
It's wild, man.
Yeah. So for the Brothers Anderson Not Related, this has been 22 Panels, and we will see you after the next page.
Hey guys, this is Tyler from 22 Panels. I'm here to tell you all about our Patreon. If you enjoy this show, please consider donating to our Patreon to keep this show going. We have many different tiers, all different levels to help you decide what's right for you. Okay, so get on out there to patreon.com/22 Panels Podcast.